Hi, my name is Raquel Salazar, and my science fair project is called the Super Enhancer. The purpose of this experiment is to see what soil amendment would increase the growth rate in both lettuce and radish plants while also not harming any of the plants. In modern day society, farmers prefer to use fertilizer over soil amendments due to fertilizer working faster. However, fertilizer has harmful chemicals that can damage plants and kill them. Because of this, I wanted to create my own soil amendment that would work the same as fertilizer. However, it would not harm the environment nor the plants. My hypothesis was that if I add the eggshell soil amendments to both lettuce and radish plant, then the crops will grow at a more increased rate in comparison to the other soil amendments containing plants. The variables that were being used was the independent variable, which was the different soil amendments used for each lettuce and radish plant, dependent, which was the growth of lettuce and radish plant each week, the constant, which was the lettuce seed, radish seed, soil used, amount of water given, the amount of soil amendments being used, and the types of cups for each plant, and the control, which was the cups which only contained soil and the seeds without any soil amendments. Some background information to know before starting this experiment is that both plants can actually take up to 4 weeks to grow and require a large amount of nutrients from the ground. When plants use large amounts of nutrients from the ground, this could damage the soil due to not enough nutrients being replenished. As a result, the plant growth of radish and lettuce seeds can be put at risk. However, by using soil amendments, it can provide a nutrient booster for the crops and replenish the vitamins which the soil requires. And here are the materials that I used: 12 radish seeds, 12 lettuce seeds, 24 16-ounce red solo cups, a bag of Miracle-Gro potting mix, a ruler, blender, strainer, box of instant coffee mix, a measuring cup, 1 gallon of water, 30 eggshells, 3 plastic containers, 3 planks of wood, 1 wood ash container, and 1 black Sharpie. For this experiment, I created an eggshell, wood ash, control, and coffee homemade soil amendment. First, I gathered the 12 red solo cups and arranged them in 4 rows containing 3 cups for each, both lettuce and radish plants. Then I began creating my amendments, which were the eggshell amendment, consisted of crushed eggshells placed within the soil, the wood ash, which was considered burnt wood ash poured on top of the soil, and the coffee amendment, which is made by coffee grains mixed in with water. Once the amendments are made, I pour them into their respective cups, and then over the course of the 4 weeks, I noted the plant's height on every Saturday and regularly poured water and soil amendments every Sunday. In the past 4 weeks, I observed what happened throughout each week for both lettuce and radish plant. For week 1 for lettuce, the highest growth rate was 0.1 inch for wood ash, while the lowest was 0 inches for coffee. While for radish, the highest was 1.25 inches for control and the lowest was 0 inches for wood ash. In week 2 for lettuce, the highest was 0.72 inches for eggshells and the lowest 0.5 inches for wood ash. While for radish, the highest was 1.15 inches for control and the lowest was 0.8 inches for wood ash. In week 3, the highest for lettuce was 1 inch for coffee and 0.7 inches for wood ash, while radish was 2 inches for coffee amendment and the lowest was 1 inch for wood ash. For week 4, the overall best soil amendment is coffee with a height of 0.80 inches, with the worst being wood ash with 0.47 inches. And the second best was actually eggshells with 0.74 inches. For radish, the overall best was coffee amendment with 1.84 inch, with the worst being wood ash with 0.64 inches, and the second best being the control with 1.38 inches. I calculated the average growth rate per trial for both lettuce and radish plant was by measuring each soil amendment plant's average growth rate for that week. Once I measured their average growth rate for that week for each plant, I would combine it together to gain the trial for that week. I would continue this process until the 4 weeks were over, and at the very end, to find the total average growth rate, I would find each soil amendment's trial for that week, combine them together, and that would be their total average growth rate. I would do this for each soil amendment until I finished, and that's how I would find which one was the worst and which one was the best soil amendment. Here are photos of both the lettuce and radish soil amendment throughout the 4 weeks and from the beginning from day 1. In the graph, it also provides proof of how coffee amendment was actually the best for both lettuce and radish, while the worst was wood ash. My hypothesis was that if I add eggshell soil amendments to both lettuce and radish plants, then the crops will grow at a more increased rate in comparison to the other soil amendments containing plants. However, The overall best soil amendment for both plants was actually coffee amendments. The overall growth of coffee amendment being 1.84 inches for radish, while lettuce was 0.80 inches. In comparison, the worst amendment proved to be wood ash instead. Its overall growth was 0.47 inches for lettuce and 0.64 inches for radish. The reason this could be is that the coffee amendment has a high amount of nitrogen, which is a leading element needed for both plants to grow, which could have boosted the overall growth rate in all the plants, leading it to be the best. When testing to see which soil amendment worked the best, coffee amendment worked the best for both lettuce and radish. On the other hand, wood ash performed the worst. Overall, in the data, you can see the drastic growth rate between both soil amendments and the drastic growth rate they both had. In the end, my data did not support my hypotheses, and it turns out that the best soil amendment was actually coffee instead of eggshells. The coffee amendment had an average of 1.84 inches as the overall growth rate for radish and 0.80 inches for the lettuce. This revealed to me that there are other different types of amendments out there which can produce more efficient results. However, this also led me to believe that eggshells are still a good soil amendment since they had similar average growth rates to coffee. If I were to redo this experiment again, I would change the area in which I store the plants. This is due to the fact that the spot they were kept in did not receive as much sunlight as other areas. Some factors which could have altered the plant's growth are also the drastic temperature changes and the spontaneous weather. This could have overwatered the plants whenever it rained or dried them up on hot, humid days. Finally, if I repeat this experiment again, I would compare the growth rates between soil amendments to actual fertilizers. And if I were to take this experiment further, a question I would ask myself is, are soil amendments better than fertilizer? Here are the citations where I gathered my information for my project. And here's my abstract that I created for my science fair project.